To order. So we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on December 2nd, 2020. As chairman of the Finance Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04 and subsequent extensions, the public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-205-6099. The meeting ID is 830-6991-0995. And the passcode is 943267. The public may also view the meeting via channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and Nashua Public Library. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or via channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Alderman Patricia Clay.
I am here. I can hear the proceedings. I am alone in this room and I'm here social distancing.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Liu.
I'm here alone and I can hear you.
Alderman, clerk says yes. I'm here. I'm alone. I can hear everyone. Alderwoman at large, Shoshanna Kelly.
Here, I'm alone. I can hear everyone.
Alderman at large, Brandon Laws.
I'm here, I'm alone, and I can hear you.
Alderman at large, Michael B. O'Brien Sr.
I am present, I can hear the proceedings, and I am alone.
And Mayor Jim Dotches.
I'm here. I'm social distancing pursuant to the emergency orders, and I am alone in the living room. All right, so the first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to the committee about any of the items on the agenda?
Can I just mention that Alderman Tom Lopez is with us today?
Yes.
And any other aldermen? I think that's it for aldermen.
Sorry. So in addition to committee members, we do have Tom Lopez, and I do not see any other aldermen. And we will, of course, recognize our staff as we get to the various items. Any member of the public wish to speak to the committee? All right. Communications, the first being from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, who is on the call. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
A motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 4 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles, replacing 1 2009 Chevy Impala, 1 2009 unmarked Chevy Impala, and 2 2010 unmarked Chevy Impala vehicles from MHQ Inc. Municipal Vehicles, Marlborough, Massachusetts, for a total amount of $168,514.80. Funding will be through Department 150 Police Source Fund, FY21 Surf 81500 vehicles by roll call.
And I believe Karen Smith from the police department is
Yeah.
part of the meeting.
Yes,
Also, it's also Brian Stoika, Fleet Supervisor, National Police.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. And could you just give us a brief
Sure.
overview on this?
I need the
These
spelling
are-
of his name.
Oh,
Brian,
I'm sorry. It's
'Cause
Brian Stoika, Sojka.
thank you.
These are
It's,
four unmarked cars.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
These are four unmarked cars scheduled to be replaced on this surf schedule. It's at this point that it's time to replace the four cars. We're doing three of them at one. Three of them we're doing. I'm sorry. We're doing three of them with one quote because the equipment is all the same, and then we're doing an additional vehicle that we're adding a little bit of different equipment to it. That's why you see the two different quotes for these vehicles.
And do the unmarked cars have lights on them? Or
Yes, they are actually fully lit. They have lights in the front windshield, the back glass. They have department radios, sirens in them. Yes, they are set up basically almost like a cruiser, but without the prisoner stuff in it. And they are unmarked vehicles, so they're not lettered or anything.
all right, any questions or comments from anyone? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Sojika, these vehicles, and perhaps Ms. Smith can answer this. Do we get a trade-in value of these? Do we sell them separately? I know we tend to ask this question, or do we keep them on the road until they're not usable under any circumstances?
These four cars are actually going to be transferred over to the Administrative Service Division in the city.
Okay.
All these four vehicles.
So, and to be used by the city for other types of things, and I assume, is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
I believe that we have resolved the UAW contract by providing cars that can be driven during the day, and we're going to use these police cars. I think this is the source of the vehicles. We're not going to have to buy vehicles. We're just going to use these used cars to drive around town for code inspectors and things like that.
That's what I thought I'd heard at the budget hearing last night. I just wanted to clarify that. So thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may ask a question, since we're repurposing the vehicles, they evidently have increased life expectancy. Has the police department looked at these vehicles? In the case in point, my wife is driving a 2004 Toyota still today. Can we look at these vehicles when they come up on surf? Do they have a longer period of time of life expectancy for the city? And can we take that savings and refer it back to other departments?
I think the question really is, do we really need to buy new vehicles? Can we leave these with a PD, right? Isn't that what you're asking?
Basically, in a nutshell, would another year kind of help the city up? I mean, you discussed the points with the pension plan and everything else. And this may be another avenue that we may look at to cut a corner.
What do you think?
I could speak to that if I could, Mayor.
Yes, Ms. Smith.
That would not be recommended for the type of driving that you're going to have with the law enforcement purposes. We have already tried that before with the vehicles, and certainly our fleet maintenance Brian could speak more to this if he has additional to add, or the captain is also available. We look at the 100,000 as the warranty with the vehicles, and that is the life of the vehicle for the purposes that we have found useful for our vehicles. Thank you.
I mean, I think the point is that the use by code inspectors to drive a few miles to or a mile or whatever it is to a inspection is much lighter, less taxing use than we would get from the PD. And that's why I think the PD doesn't feel that for their use, they are sufficient, but as kind of a just a low use vehicle for the code department, they probably will work.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. Normally I would agree, but in the great American Ben Franklin, penny saved is a penny earned.
He had many pearls of wisdom, and that is one of them. He also started the first fire department, did he not, in the city of Philadelphia? First fire
Yeah.
department in the United States.
Mhm.
And I'm sure he was compensated wisely.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Didn't he start wasn't the first fire department in Philadelphia started by Ben Franklin?
Thank you.
think I heard
Yeah,
that.
you're absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we've got not only someone from the fire department, but someone from originally from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, right?
So we've got a lot of expertise on that question. All right. So any other questions or comments for the police department? If not, could you, Madam Clerk, please call the roll?
Okay. Alderman Clay,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes. Motion passes. Next communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Madam Alderman Harriet Gathright.
A motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 2 rear load packer waste collection vehicles in the amount of $285,045 each, and 1 ZR side load automatic packer waste collection vehicle from McNeilus Truck and Manufacturer, Morgantown, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $347,995 for a total amount of $918,085. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste, Source Fund, FY21 SURF 81500 vehicles by roll call.
All right, and I think we have Superintendent LaFleur from the landfill on this.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Thank you so much. I also have John Stewart, Fleet Manager, along if there's any other questions with this also. These are 2 rear load packers that we're replacing. We're actually going to keep the 2 rear load packers as backup vehicles for our yard waste and our heavy seasons. And the automated side loader is replacing a packer that a side loader that is no longer in service. We deemed it unfavorable to replace it or repair what was needed into it, and that'll be traded in or sold at auction.
Any questions, comments? Could the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Clay,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, and the motion passes.
Thank you.
Next communication, again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
A motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 3 for the 2019 SIP lining project with Kenyon Pipeline Inspection of Queensbury, New York, for the amount not to exceed $300,000. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Bond, Activity, Sewer Rehab by roll call.
discussion or for this, we
Who's this
have,
for?
don't we have Mr. Hudson on here?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Engineer Dan Hudson. So this is the contract under which we've been doing CCTV inspection of sewer mains and also lining of sewer mains. In 2019, Kenyon was selected through a competitive bid for work, and then we did a change order to that contract earlier in the spring, and that was intended to take us through the end of the year. What we're asking is another change order to get us a few more months into the spring when we can bid out the contract for next year. But this work is important. They've been continuing, and we need to continue it so that we can find the defects to line for next year's rehabilitation and reconstruction program.
Okay, questions, comments? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is actually just, as I'm reading it, it's just a video inspection. This is not repairing anything, correct? We're not trying to fix anything. We're gonna do that contract up in the spring. This is just to inspect and see if there's any defects or any issues. Is that correct?
You can do both things under this contract. We plan to focus on the video to get as much video as you can, but if we come across something that needs to be fixed, then we certainly can do that. Lining, pipes. So we have the ability to go either way. You know, if we took this contract and we only did CCTV, we'd, be able to do like 28 miles. And if we only line pipes, we do almost 2 miles, but it'll be somewhere in between. It'll be a balance, but we're trying to focus mostly on the CCTV.
May I have a follow-up question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So would you need another change order if you have to do a repair, or does this change order say CTV and repair? I was a little confused on that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, the original.
No, that's my fault.
The original contract and the change orders all have allowed us the flexibility to do both types of work. What I'm telling you is this change order would allow us to do both types as well. But we're planning to focus on the video versus the lining, given the time of the year and given that we're trying to queue up for reconstruction and lining work for next summer.
Okay, thank you. I was a little confused, but thank you so much.
Any other, Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you. Mr. Hudson, what are some of the age of some of our older pipes that we have in the system?
So that's a great question. We have some very old pipes in the city, well over 100 years old. So what we've been focusing on is the pipes in the inner city primarily, because those are the oldest. The city over time grew from the center out. So yeah, we're looking at pipes that well over 100 years, and many that probably haven't been looked in maybe ever or in many years. So it's important that we look at them. We try to catch them, line them before they slip into a repair category where they would require digging, which is much more expensive and more disruptive. So we feel this is a great program. It's going well, and we want to continue that work.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question about how, well, first of all, is it, I know it's very possible that we will have snowfall soon. And I wonder if they're not able to do the work, then do they just do it later in the year when they're able to with this contract? Or is it temporal?
This CTV work is not that temporal. They can do it year round. In fact, they're in town working this week, wrapping up some of the contract to date. But this can happen year round. They do have to clean lines, so there's some flushing with water and whatnot. So if it's cold, there might be a week that they say we're not going to work this week, but this pretty much can occur year round.
A follow-up, please.
Yes.
Isn't this the work where there's a large truck in the middle of the road? And wouldn't that be obstruct traffic if we had a lot of snow on either side? But really, I think the question I should have asked is, is the price based on the number of miles of street we do, or what is it based upon? Just for my own information.
Sure, yeah, no, that's a great question. It's based upon the feet of pipe we inspect. So there's a per foot price. There's various prices for the level of cleaning that's required. There's a heavy cleaning, then there's a normal cleaning. And then the lining, of course, is sized per size of the pipe. So, you know, the bigger the size, the higher the price, obviously. So it is varied, but it is unit priced based contract. It's not a time based or a lump sum or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually just have more of a comment. I'm glad to see that we're doing this, especially in light of the fact that some of these pipes are 100 years old. I just learned today, and I know mine is a water pipe issue and not a sewer pipe issue, but I just learned today that the water main that goes through my yard for 2 streets away was installed in 1881. So knowing that we have these very old water pipes, sewer pipes and so on, I'm glad to see that the city is really looking at these and doing the best they can to, as Mr. Hudson pointed out, to line them before they become so old that they've got to get replaced and costing so much more money. So thank you for this work, and I do appreciate it.
Alderman Lopez.
If a pipe were to be removed and then replaced, what do we do with it? Do we just stick it in the landfill? Do we recycle it?
That's a good question. The contractors are required to, you know, dig it up and dispose of it. So yeah, they do landfill, you know, materials that they excavate.
So we can't run it down to the metal shop and get some money for it.
A lot of times it's clay pipe, or I mean, we have some asbestos pipe, so that's the most unfortunate kind we dig up. But you know, it's a mixture of deteriorated concrete. Lots of times you go to dig it and it, you know, kind of disappears on you as you're trying to dig it because it's so fragile. So it is a mix. I did want to, you know, folks talked about the benefits of, you know, finding the pipes before we have to dig them up. I mentioned it was more costly. It's, you know, on the order of 10 to 20 times more costly to dig up a pipe and replace it than it is to line it. So it's a good program, and we appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Hudson, eventually we're going to have to cross a bridge to look at the combination system that we have. And what do you see as the time frame to do that, to go to a complete separate drain versus sewer system, particularly for we're talking about the downtown, the elder system in the city?
Well, that's a great question, and there's a lot of factors. One of them is, you know, coordinating with our regulatory agencies. You know, we have a lot of permits through EPA and through DES, and you know, some of that's going to be a negotiation with them in terms of exactly what we got to do and on what timeline. You know, I would hope it would be a longer term thing. It's challenging, it's expensive. You know, Manchester undertook a huge effort, and you know, it's on the order of hundreds of millions of dollars a year to try to do that type of thing. So, you know, well, it'll happen over time. I'm hoping it's not an urgent thing because it's going to be a huge undertaking. But it'll depend on a lot of factors.
Follow up, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So therefore, relining of the system can grandfather us and push that back when the EPA does mandate it then?
Yeah, I mean, you know, your sewer mains are still going to stay your sewer mains if you separate the drainage, you know, the stormwater out of them. So, you know, regardless of what happens with the separation or not, I mean, it's good value still to preserve those sewer mains. You would be digging up and putting in a drainage main. You would hope not to have to do a sewer main at the same time and double the cost, you know, or more. So the lining is good value. Thankfully, we found that the brick sewers are actually in pretty good shape from what we found inspecting. That was one of our biggest fears, was the older sewers were going to be in tough shape, but it turns out some of the unreinforced concrete pipe is not fared as well as some of the old brick mains, which are beautiful to look at if you're interested in that sort of thing. But so we feel like we're in pretty good shape with those, but we'll continue to monitor through this program.
Thank you.
I don't see anything else. If not, could you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Next item again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager,
Yes.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the agreement for the reimbursement for bridge design with the town of Hudson, which includes reimbursement to the town of Hudson in an amount not to exceed $40,145.50. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund, Capital Activity, Taylor Falls, and Veterans Bridge by roll call.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you. So subject to this item, as noted, is two bridges that carry Route 111 go across the river between Nashua and Hudson. They're jointly owned. We have joint responsibility for maintenance and that sort of thing. They were built in the 1970s. In 2018, Hudson cooperatively with us took on a study, an engineering study, to look at the bridges, and found that there is some deterioration, which should be repaired before it slips into a worse condition, similar to the sewer item we were talking about previously. So the next step in the process is to enter into a formal design process where those repairs are more detailed and specified and bid out for construction. So Hudson has put out a contract for that, selected an engineer, Dubois and King. The cost for it is just over $80,000. Our share, which would be half of that cost, is just over $40,000, which is what this item requests.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Question, so is this something that we had planned for or did not plan for?
Yeah, we had planned for it. I believe some funding was set aside over a year ago.
Okay.
But we're finally to the point that we have an engineer on board and can proceed with this work. The construction funding would come later, as a separate item. I'm not sure we've budgeted that yet. That would be a later request.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderwoman Lou.
Yes, just thank you. This will be overseen by both, a representative from Nashua as well as Hudson. Is that right?
Yeah, we work cooperatively throughout the process. So we did that on the engineering study too. The contract with the engineer will be with Hudson, and we will be reimbursing Hudson for half the cost. But Hudson has to date included us in all the efforts. We had an opportunity to review the RFP, and we reviewed the contract, and so it's a very cooperative agreement we have with them, and we'll continue that way.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Last question, is any possibility of getting money from the state to help with that, or from the county? And I only ask that question because at the county level, this is what I heard about these two. The bridge being both of ours and needing work, and it was the Hudson County person that spoke to it. And that's the first I'd ever heard of it. So that's my question. So
Yeah,
they're leading the way, and we're kind of like following in that situation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair characterization. I mean, we both see the need to do this. Whether there will be state money or county money, that's yet to be seen. Certainly we would encourage pursuing that. In discussions with the state, to date anyway, it's been challenging. They have a lot of bridges that have a lot of need. So this one here, that's more of a maintenance, preservation type, maybe isn't as high on the radar as some of the red listed bridges that are, in dire need of repair and replacement. So we'll continue to work on that. The thought process with this was to do this repair, buy some additional life from the bridges before having to go to a more intensive repair, which would cost more money. And I'm not sure that we can get the state to step up and fund this effort on that timeline. Typically, they're looking at 10 plus years out to add things to the program. So we'll see how it goes. First step here is get a design, get a good cost estimate. But then I'm sure Hudson and we with them alongside will pursue funding wherever it's available.
Follow up, just comment. In my opinion, I'm just going to say that Nashua has representative to county and to state. So I don't know if that's somewhere along the line that you could stay in touch and maybe try to help that situation financially in terms of Nashua. Just a thought.
We would love to get county money in this.
I hear you.
State money would even be better. All right. Any other comments or questions? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lowe.
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes. Motion passes. Next communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager.
I didn't in the screen and slide that.
Alderman Harriet Gathrick.
Give her a cookie.
I did, relax.
Mike, you're unmuted. I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of Leica Viva TS16 Total Station Survey Instrument and Auxiliary Equipment and Software from Maine Technology Sources of Woburn, Mass. in the amount of $28,262.11. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund Trust Activity Surf by roll call.
And is this you, Mr. Hudson?
It is, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. This is my meeting, I believe. But so this is a piece of survey equipment. We have our city surveyor on staff working in the engineering department within Public Works, and he uses this piece of equipment every day. It's critical to what he does. He's out surveying to support design projects, confirming constructed work is according to plans, establishing rights of way and property boundaries and that sort of thing. So this equipment is very important. The piece of equipment that we currently have is 11 years old. So this is a scheduled purchase. You can imagine being a technical piece of equipment. Imagine taking your computer in and out of your vehicle every day and setting it up outside in the rain and that sort of thing. I mean, the unit is obviously more durable than that, but we've gotten good use out of it. The current piece of equipment is working, but this is a scheduled purchase, and we'd like to make this our frontline equipment and then put the existing equipment as a backup piece for in any case when this piece is down for calibration or anything like that. So with that, I'd entertain any questions.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, again, Mr. Hudson. When we replace these pieces of equipment, I know you said that it's a scheduled replacement of it. Do we maintain hours? Is there a certain level that we look at on a regular basis, or so in other words, does it have X number of hours like we talk about engines and things?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. No,
it
I don't
just
believe
stops working.
Yeah, sorry. I don't believe the unit reports hours. I just will tell you it's been about 10 years, so I think we've gotten good use out of it, and it continues to be useful. But I start to worry when. Sorry, I'm
I'm
getting,
sorry, somebody's not muted, okay.
getting some
Yep.
feedback. Okay, sorry. You know, I get worried when a piece of equipment gets 10 years old, and it is such a critical piece that I believe it's appropriate and timely as planned to purchase it now and have the other as a backup so that we can keep our surveyor working day in and day out doing the work that we need him to do.
Just one quick follow-up, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Have we had any problems with the equipment to date? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't replace them. I'm just curious as to, is it showing its age by having some downtime on it? I think you're muted, yeah.
Yeah, I just muted myself. Yeah, no, it's you can tell it's got a few dings and scrapes. I know the level bubble on it where you just set it up. We had to replace that recently, so it's had a few bits and pieces that needed repair. Nothing that's kept it out of service for a long period of time. I know the surveyor takes good care of it the best he can. The thing that when you only have one piece, it's a little hard to keep up with the calibration and different things like that. So I think. And this new one also has some additional capabilities. It's a little quicker, has a little more precision, a little quicker to track. It's actually a unit that you use independently. So you set it up and then it follows him around, where he's standing. So this one will work a little more efficiently, has a few more bells and whistles per se, and being a new piece of equipment should be more reliable. But no, I wouldn't say that our existing has been a headache. I just think we should replace this on schedule if we can.
One more follow-up, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, of course.
So I guess this is kind of like two questions. One is you mentioned about that it can follow him. So would that mean that you would only need one survey to kind of, versus where the old days you would have one person looking and kind of following him that way? And the other thing is, could this be relegated to being like a backup if goodness sakes anything happened to that one, or would it be traded in or sold? So there's two kind of questions there. Sorry.
No, that's good. No, it definitely, the existing piece would become a backup, so that we'd have that as a backup, or if the case ever came that we were in a position where we needed 2 units, that we could do that. Yeah, it is what they call a robotic total station. So in the old days, you had somebody looking through the transit and somebody else holding the rod. I spent many an hour on the end of a rod. But this one, you have the prism and it tracks where he is. So he can set it up independently, do survey, and then, to go back to the office and create the plans and things that we do from that. So it's a great setup. He's great with it. He's very efficient. We get a lot done with it. So we'd like to get this new piece.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson.
I don't see anyone else. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
You're muted.
I'm looking at you, Sid. All right, Alderman Clegg.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou. Alderwoman Lou, you're muted.
Struggling tonight, folks.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Okay, clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
And Mayor Donches.
Yes, and the motion passes. Next item again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager.
Mr. Mayor.
Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on the file, and approve the purchase of one 2020 Ford F-350 XL four-wheel drive pickup with plow from MHQ Inc. Municipal Vehicles, Marlborough, Massachusetts, in the amount of $42,645. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund. Trust activity served by roll call.
And is Mr. Ibarra, are you here on this?
Yeah. You're muted, John.
Yes, I was asked to speak to this park and rec purchase.
Okay,
Little out of order from how I had it set up from the prior meeting, but okay, I'm on it. Yeah, Nick retired, so I was asked to speak to this purchase. I did ask our fleet manager from the street department, John Stewart, to join us. So if you have any historical usage
Is he here?
or technical questions after I've gone through my comments, he can help out with any answers to those questions. But this park and rec truck is replacing for FY21 the budgeted replacement cost of $46,903. And it was replacing 532 that is on the surf replacement list, originally scheduled for replacement for 20, but was deferred also. And the current vehicle was donated to Grow Nashua earlier in the spring because it was on the replacement list. So this is a pickup that'll be four-wheel drive and used for plowing over at Park and Rec. So they take care of the inner city area. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
questions, comments? I don't see anyone.
I got one.
Oh, Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Yeah, so this is a new vehicle. What were we using prior to this?
This will be used for plowing the new vehicle. This was a two-wheel drive pickup that's being replaced. So it was
Okay.
upgraded, but within the budget of the surf.
Okay,
Now we'll be using it for plowing moving forward.
thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Could you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, and the motion passes. Next item again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 2020 Sand Pro 5040 from the Turf Products Corp. Of Enfield, Connecticut, in the amount of $32,768.07. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund Trust Activity Surf by roll call.
Mr. Ibarra?
So this is a ball field groomer. It's a little tractor that's used at Park and Rec. They do maintain 39 baseball and softball fields throughout the city. And basically it's just an older tractor. So they're looking to replace it. It's got almost 4,000 hours on it. I believe they intend to keep this one and run it until it's not feasible to put any more funding into it. So they'll be able to maintain the ball fields.
Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Another item from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
A motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one 2020 Morbark Eager Beaver 15-inch chipper from Beauregard Equipment of Concord, New Hampshire, in the amount of $81,277.25. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund Trust Activity Surf by roll call.
Discussion, or, well, Mr. Ibarra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the Park and Rec chipper. It's a 2006, so it's a quite old, it's an dated chipper, excuse me. It also was a deferred purchase from fiscal 20 to fiscal 21. This is the backbone of their operation when it comes to down trees. We have a natural disaster or storm come through. It's got almost 5,000 hours on this particular piece of equipment. And this also will be kept as a backline unit. So if we really get hammered by Mother Nature, we'll be able to address it the best we can. And until it becomes economically not viable.
Questions? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you. And Mr. Ibarra, thank you very much. I appreciate, I've noticed with all three of these, you've let us know what will be happening with the old equipment as to whether it'll just kind of be, as you put it, backlined. And I appreciate that. It kind of helps us understand. And I also appreciate the fact that we are doing these backlining so that if we do have these emergencies or events that we don't get backlogged. We can keep moving forward, just having to get the staff in there to be able to do it. So thank you very much for thinking ahead.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. Just a question. You mentioned that this was a deferred surf item, and I'm just trying to understand, does that mean it wasn't purchased last year, even though it was on the schedule?
That is correct. So every year or annually, we're asked to go through and see what we could put off if we actually have to, based on budgeting concerns.
Yep.
So apparently Nick decided that he could go one more year on this older chipper, and that's what he did. He waited for this year's purchase.
Okay.
So can I elaborate on that? So usually as we're preparing the budget, we meet with, there's a surf list of potential purchases for the coming fiscal year. So we usually meet with the departments and kind of go through that list and say, do you really need to buy this year? Could this wait? And what's the condition of the piece of equipment? And then sometimes the department says, yes, well, even though it's scheduled for purchase this year, we think we could go another year with it. And therefore we save the money for a year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alderwoman Clee.
I just want to make a comment, and I'm glad that Alderman Lou had brought up about the deferring. I do appreciate when Public Works does this. I know Nick took a big hit a year ago by deferring a lot of this different equipment. So I appreciate when you guys are willing to step in and do it. I know in some cases we can't, but thank you.
Oh, and just one additional thing. So then the amended surf list comes to the Board of Aldermen during the budget, and you approve the amended group of, the amended list of equipment purchases. So it isn't something that is done just internally. It gains aldermanic approval at the end of the day.
If I could just follow up, one question that led me to wonder is, I know that during our the process of it's not encumbrance, but
escrows.
Thank you. During that point, I learned that the sorry, I'm having a hard time concentrating. I understand that these funds are zeroed out, or they don't carry their balance that have not been used. And so there was money appropriated for this in the past. So you don't mean that money was appropriated for it, but then it was deferred. You simply mean that it didn't make it to the schedule for, even though
Correct. I mean,
Right.
the surf sometimes has a balance, and so there's the surf account might have a balance. So there's a tentative assignment of some of the funds to a particular purchase, but that is not an appropriation into the purchase line, into the purchase itself. It's just kind of a plan. And then as the budget is developed, that plan is reviewed, and if some piece of equipment can be deferred, then that's removed from the plan, but the aldermen do approve that plan. And then that becomes an appropriation. And then when the equipment needs to be purchased, we come here with as you see, the proposed purchases on funds, to spend funds that have been appropriated for particular pieces of equipment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I apologize for getting into that. It's just something I didn't quite understand. So thank you.
No worries.
Oh, great. Anybody else? All right. Could you, Madam Clerk, please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes, Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one 2021 Ford F-550 Super Duty 4x4 South Coachip truck from Custom One Truck Source of Hooksett, New Hampshire, in the amount of $81,287. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund Trust Activity, served by roll call.
And I believe we have Mr. Ibarra again, right?
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Park and Recs Department has a 550 on the surf for replacement in fiscal 21. And Custom One Truck, a Hooksett, provided a quote based off the Sourcewell contract, which is the equivalent of a state bid. And this vehicle is used or will be used in conjunction with the boom truck in their wood chipping operation. So they'll be carting around the chips as they clean up the trees that have blown down during any storm. This also will, the old one replacement will again be kept as a backline until it's not feasible to pump any more funding into it to keep it on the road.
Discussion? Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Just curious, how old is the one that's going to be on the back burner?
That's a 12 and has just shy of 70,000 miles on it. If you would like more historical usage of the vehicle, John Stewart's here. You could chime in if you'd like.
So I was just wondering if it was something like a 10-year, vehicle, what it was, how long we've had that?
So the answer is 8 years, right?
Yeah.
8 years? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien had a question, it looked like.
Oh, Alderman O'Brien, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and to Mr. Ibarra, are we talking about the boom truck?
That'll be the next motion, I believe.
Oh.
So this will be the chip truck.
Okay, yeah, then I'll hold my question to the boom truck then. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes, Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien, Alderman
Yeah.
Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Next item again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of two 2021 HAV 507 FAA SFA 4x2 cab and chase from Liberty International of Manchester, New Hampshire, in the amount of $87,900, each for a total of $175,800. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund Trust Activity, served by roll call.
Mr. O'Brien.
Okay, so
Alderman O'Brien, do you have a question? Oh, sorry, let's go to Mr. Ibarra first.
Yeah.
So it looks like that wasn't the next motion for the boom truck. You'll have to wait, Alderman O'Brien. We jumped into some streets purchases. This is replacing two of our plow trucks, actually. So we use it for plowing and construction season. It'll be replacing 13119, which has 32,000 miles, but 8,326 engine hours. So that's the equivalent of about 250,000 miles on the industry standard. And then also replaces a 13 truck 120, again, 33,000 miles with 8,391 engine hours for an equivalent of approximately 251,000 miles. And these are backbones of our plowing operation here at Street Department. Any questions?
Any questions, comments? Any questions or comments? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll? Madam Clerk, I think you might be
I
muted.
know, no, I'm not. I was reading. Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Next item again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
A motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one 2021 AWD all-wheel drive Freightliner XT Pro 70 rear mount aerial bucket truck from Custom One Truck Source of Hooksett, New Hampshire, in the amount of $198,049. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund. Trust activity surf by roll call.
Mr. Ibarra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the replacement of the current forestry truck at Park and Rec, their boom bucket truck that they use for the tree work around the city. This was also based on a Sourcewell contract, which would be the equivalent of a state bid. So it's the best price we could get on it. And it's replacing an 08, which was scheduled for replacement on the surf. It was scheduled originally in 20, but again, it was deferred until fiscal 21. And this truck will be kept as a backup also.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the alderman remember, the fire department was looking to looking to purchase a new boom truck. And we took the old one and did apply it to Park and Rec. And I think that was a good value to the city. And if you're wondering why the difference, keep in mind when you're talking about a boom truck, the boom has to be certified to electrical needs when it's up around different type of current situations. And the reason the fire department did dispose of that vehicle and referred it back to Park and Rec, it was specific use only and not to be used around electrical type of situations. This new purchase will be a multi-purpose vehicle that could be used in electrical type of format, and it's a wise purchase and to get them back into that. And I think this is a wise choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien.
Anyone else? Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Maybe I should save it for comments at the end as an alderman. I'll wait till later.
Okay.
That's okay.
Alderman Lou. Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, do we have any other of these in the wings, or is it, we don't have any others that are being housed in case we need them, do we?
Not for forestry work, no. This is, I believe it's a 70-foot boom. John, correct me if I'm wrong. So this has the reach that Park and Rec needs over there for doing the tree work that they do. We have bucket trucks at the street department. That's used on the mast arms for signal control, traffic signals, stuff like that. So we don't have the reach they have, and they're not geared up for that kind of work.
Okay. It just seems like we're buying a lot of vehicles that we're not, that we're keeping the old. And I I'm just pleasantly surprised that we have space to put them.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we're shy of space. But yes, of course, I am going to keep, at least in my department, I'm thinking division-wide, we're on the same path. We want to keep what we can as long as it's feasible. For instance, the plow trucks. I'm always hoping to have a truck for every single run. We have 41 runs. I have 29 plow trucks. So to keep a wing truck in, I mean, since 2016, we've lost 16 trucks. We've put them out of service. So every year you think you're going into it and you're going to be in better shape. And then these trucks get tagged out of service. So we're always trying to keep up. And yeah, we're going to run the back line as long as possible. It's the best for the city. It really is. And the level of service that we can provide.
Thanks.
I do have one quick question.
Alderman
Yes.
Harriet Gathright.
Okay, so these are the ones that trim the trees, correct?
Yes,
Okay, but
that's correct.
is it only in the park or is it through the city?
They go citywide.
Okay,
So
so
like,
do right,
go ahead.
I guess my question is, right now today, do we use other contractors through the city for cutting the trees, you know, when they're
It's
overbearing into the road?
my understanding, if the tree is in the wires, then it'll be contracted out or Eversource will take care of it. Park and Rec won't deal with anything that's in the wires. But citywide, we'll do all kinds of tree work as long as there are no wires involved.
Okay, so we don't contract out for just city stuff.
Typically, no. I know in the past, Nick has gone after some hazardous trees with a contractor if you need a crane, if it's a really big tree. So there are times where a contractor may be brought in, but as a rule, Park and Rec will take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee?
Alderman O'Brien again.
Oh, Alderman
Sorry.
O'Brien, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to say with the clarification with Mr. Ibarra, I know he's not answering for Park Rec. He's doing as best that he can. But in my experience on the fire department, we've had some terrible storms in the city where trees have been knocked down, where fire apparatus has not been able to respond, nor police vehicles or ambulances in the general public to get from, point A to point B. Who takes care of these municipal trees that come down upon the road? And it is Park Rec. And anything that we can afford to have them remove them, I think is definitely an asset. They do yeoman's work when those type of storms do occur. And I thank them for their diligence in performing that duty. Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I'm reminding you, Dad, please take your medicines
right.
and your insulin from
Madam
that
Clerk,
time.
could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee?
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou?
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly? Alderman Laws?
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes, the motion passes. Next item from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 2 trackless MT7 articulated tractors from HP Fairfield of Hopkinton, North New Hampshire, in the amount of $305,855. Funding won't be through Department 161 Street Fund Trust Activity, served by roll call.
Mr. Ibarra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the replacement of 2 of our existing sidewalk tractors. So these are critical to our snow removal citywide on the sidewalks. We start out around the schools. So this is how we open up the sidewalks 1,000 feet in all directions within 48 hours after every storm. And then we go into our primary runs and then secondary runs. And we maintain about 50 miles of sidewalks citywide. And that's concurrent to our snow removal operations. We get done plowing and we staff the tractors and put them out, clear the sidewalks. These are multi-use. So we actually get milling attachments and brooms that we can use in the summer during our construction season is part of our mill and fill program. So these are versatile tractors that are a key part to our operation. Happy to answer any questions.
I don't see anyone. Alderman Lopez.
Are these so the Economic Development Office mentioned that we would potentially be purchasing concrete barriers to expand the use of downtown during the summer next year, and that we would need special concrete lifting forks, I guess, that could be attached to tractors. These happen to be the same tractors that would go on?
No, these are not.
Okay.
No.
And then as a follow-up, is our current sidewalk cleaning capacity, do you think, adequate to the job? As a pedestrian, it definitely doesn't feel that way, but that's also probably because I am walking into every street that isn't cleared. And they can't all be cleared, I know, because they're not the right width.
Right, we can't fit on every sidewalk in the city. And we're stretched to get 50 miles of sidewalk cleared. And there are variables depending on how much snow we get, how big the bankings get, the duration of the storm, but we do the best we can with what we have.
So I'll take that as you don't want to tell everybody that you need more, but it wouldn't hurt. Another thing is when individual business owners make, like they do their snow management and removal, a lot of times it can start to fall over on the sidewalk. Is there like a follow-up sweep that's done for that, like over the ensuing weeks, or is that more like constituent driven, where someone might say, hey, the Plus Company put a giant snowbank on Central Street, and then you make a trip to go out and move it, or you ask them to do it?
So there's both. There's both. So yes, constituents or management will call and ask for problem areas, line of sight issues, and then couple that with our snow removal of Main Street and inner city sidewalks, again, based on snow accumulation and the size of the bankings.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know, Mr. Ibarra, and you might not be able to answer this question. I know in, like on Lock Street, where we have a walking, they walk to school through all those areas and so on. I know that they tried to clean the sidewalks, but those are too narrow and we have obstacles in the middle of sidewalks. In that case, you can't use this type of machine. It has to all be done by hand. Is that correct?
That would not be correct, no. So we
Oh,
do have problems on Lock Street. To that point, yes, it's tight because of the utility poles. That being said, I understand there's a project in the works. I'm not sure of its status currently of expanding Lock Street and clearing
About
some of those
another year,
obstacles.
yeah.
So I know that's in the background. That's in the works. We do summer lock and tolls to try and maintain a safe route over there to Mount Pleasant. And we will have to go down with loaders and backhoes and sidewalk tractors with blades to fit on where we can, push it off of the sidewalk, and then pick it up with machines and load it out as we can.
Just a quick follow-up, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I know a number of, actually, I think it was the first year I became an alderman. We had a really bad winter where we literally had one storm right after another. I think it might have been over a weekend, and that snow became quite packed, and it never really got up until we got some melting and so on. Would those types of this type of equipment be able to work there, or again, is it still just too narrow for something like this?
Lock Street presents its various issues, but as a rule, the sidewalk tractor can work through some pretty significant bankings.
And that project that you spoke of, I'm hoping that by next fall it's started. So we're just waiting for the money to come from the state. So fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. And doing former research on this, some antiquated Supreme Court ruling came down and basically said that it is not a requirement to shovel your sidewalk, that it came down to the municipality. And I don't agree with that. Growing up in the Boston area, that was part of my chore to shovel the sidewalk. And unfortunately, New Hampshire has, in Live Free or Die, has made it a municipal issue. I don't see the Live Free and Die in that. But anyways, if you're concerned about your sidewalk, you want good passage for the kiddos going to school, if you're able-bodied and capable of doing so, nothing stops you from being a good neighbor to shoveling the sidewalk in front of your facility or your business. And the city, I'm sure, will come along at some point in time. But as living in the community, it all takes us together. And I think when it comes down to snow removal, I'm sure Mr. Ibarra would agree. A little bit of help would go a long way to that issue. I don't think we can change the law at this particular time, but a little bit of community pride would go a long way. Thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree, and we encourage that.
Alderman Lopez.
Just to clarify a comment made, so my understanding of the Supreme Court, New Hampshire Supreme Court ruling is that it's not the municipality can't make the private landowner remove the snow, but I don't believe the municipality has to remove all the snow on every sidewalk either.
Correct.
That's correct.
So just to clarify, we weren't saying that like we're going to try to quadruple our snow removal. I would love it as a professional pedestrian. I'm looking forward to treading through the snow and playing the usual game of Pac-Man where the street that I was normally going to go down isn't cleared yet. It's a hassle and it's difficult. But I also know that the city is working on planning routes out specifically that would be easier to clean, such as the East Hollis side of the rail trail and routes like that, so that there at least is a path, even if it's not in front of every single door in every single location. And then to Alderman O'Brien's point, in terms of civic pride, I know in Ward 4, we have a golden shovel competition where basically anybody in the ward takes pictures of themselves shoveling in front of their house, they get a point. If they shovel in front of a neighbor's house, they get 2 points. And if they shovel in front of a fire department, like a fire hydrant, they get a 3rd point. And then at the end of the year, we add up the points for each storm and then vote on who the winner is for those prizes. It's one way to go. I mean, we never have like blockbuster participation, but at the same time, every square foot that's shoveled is somebody who can get to a place easier. So it's an idea to throw out to the other aldermen.
Interesting.
All right, anyone else? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes. Next communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
A motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 2 6-wheel upfit packages from Tenco USA of Barry, Vermont, in the amount of $223,754. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund Trust Activity, SURF by roll call.
Mr. Ibarra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So earlier you approved the purchase of 2 cab and chassis, the international plow trucks. These are the upfit packages, so the dump bodies, the plows, the wings, and the nose gear for those said vehicles. Last year in September, we went out to bid for this upfit to try and keep people honest and get the best price we could for the city. And Tenco up in Vermont was the lowest bidder, and they agreed to hold their price on these 2 builds. So we recommend we go with this company again. They just delivered 2 trucks to us this summer that came out very nice. So we're pleased with the work they've given us. Any questions?
Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I had in my notes I wondered what the word upfit meant.
So all the gear, so when we buy the trucks, it is literally a frame, wheels, and a cab. So all the components that complete that unit and make it operational, the dump body, the nose
Frames,
plow,
the nose.
plow frame, and the wing plow. That's what's included in these upfits packages.
Okay, and my second note was, are these replacements? But now I'm getting the sense that these aren't trucks on their own. They go with the,
They go with the
what
two
they're outfitting?
previously approved cab and chassis. So
Oh,
that we bought the trucks, but this comes from a separate entity. So this completes the vehicle.
could not figure that out. So they're going to complete the internationals, or
That is correct.
is that right?
The two international cab and chassis, yes.
Oh, okay.
So I had that as motion B. I'm not sure how it shows on your paperwork. But yes, the two international cab and chassis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, and the motion passes. Next
Thank you.
communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the snow plowing contract with the Doty Group, Inc. of Merrimack, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $40,000. Funding will be through Department 166 Parking by roll call.
This was something that Economic Director Tim Cummings wanted to speak to, but he had a conflicting meeting which he had to go to. So I can provide an explanation. If there's a lot more detail, we could hold it and bring him in. But we previously had awarded the contract on the same terms for the plowing of the municipal parking lots, and the contractor backed out. So this is a contractor that the city had worked with successfully in the past, Doty, and for some years. So the recommendation here is to move from the contractor who no longer wants to do the job to Doty, who does. They've done good work in the past, and this is a maximum price contract, $40,000. So it depends on the level of snow as to how much the contractor gets paid. But I think I see a question from Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I think I know the answer to this, but for the public listening, we don't plow our own parking lots and so on within the city. We don't do that. We usually contract that out.
That's correct.
Is there a reason for this, or is it just not staff and we need it to be turned over, or?
Well, I think the reason is that our public works and everyone is at full force going to the streets.
Our focus is the streets, yes.
Yes, and they don't really have the capacity to divert resources into the parking lots, which do need to be plowed quickly. So I think for decades, the city has contracted for this type of work.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for my question.
Alderman O'Brien.
You muted.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in favor of this, seeing this December 2nd. I don't know when the next snow's gonna come, and approving this. But we're not in jeopardy of any bidding process, just to be cautious.
We are not, because it went out to bid and there were no qualified bidders. That's my understanding of it. So we're proposing an award to a previous contractor.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? If not, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Okay. Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Unfinished business, we have none. New business resolutions, we have none. New business ordinances, we have none. Record of expenditures.
Mr. Mayor,
Gathright?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I believe one of my vehicles was missed.
Which one?
I showed it as motion D in my BPW package. It was a 2020 International CV 515 SVA cab and chassis.
I don't think it's on the finance.
It's not on here.
It should be.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Which one?
It's
At the bottom.
at the bottom of page 5. I apologize.
No problem. Sorry for interrupting.
You're right.
Well, it's on the outline, but not on the agenda.
Well, it's
It
on my
should be.
outline.
All right, so, well, why don't we move forward with that then?
Okay.
Thank you.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Okay. I motion to accept, place on file, and, no, I take that back. I'm sorry. I don't have that one. The one that I was getting ready to read, we already did vote on it at the top of page 6.
So, Mr. Ibarra, I don't think that.
I don't have
we've got
that
this
one.
On the agenda. Is this, if we hold it till the next finance meeting, is this a problem?
It's used for snow, Mayor. We did pass through the Board of Public Works with it. I'm not quite sure why it didn't make the agenda, but we could use this vehicle.
I believe it was included on my memo 21058. There were 3 vehicles on that memo.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, I think it's one of those.
One of,
I mean, it's gonna take me probably 6 to 8 months to get this truck, so I guess if it has to wait, it has to wait. It's not like I'm gonna purchase it within a month or two.
All
But
right, well, do we have a prepared motion on this?
Well, Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question, please?
Yes, of course.
Brian, and my question is directed to the purchasing director, Ms. Parkinson and Mr. Ibarra. Being the liaison to the Board of Public Works, this was heard by the Board of Public Works and has their approval. Am I correct?
that is correct. That is
It
correct.
has been properly vetted, so it
Correct.
can't come before this board?
Yes, it's been approved by Public Works. It had definitely has been approved by Public Works.
Thank you.
But for some reason, all right, so is there, when Parkinson, what do you have on this?
It's on it was included with the trucks on my memo 21058, the HV 507 and the CV 515.
And the source of funds?
81500 vehicles trust.
And the amount?
So you combined them in one motion?
that's what I was,
Okay, then it passed.
yeah, so it was in which one of these? I'm sorry. My outline is a little bit different from what you're reading from.
Yeah, mine also.
So,
So was that with the 2 international cabin chassis?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
you did get it. All right, my
They're right on
mistake.
the agenda.
Okay,
And
All
I-
right, well, we did, you're saying we
Okay.
did, you're saying you're talking about vehicles that have already been approved tonight, correct?
that's what it sounds like.
Okay.
So my mistake then, I didn't see it combined
You
as
agree
a
with that, Ms.
one
Parkinson?
motion.
so that's my,
Can anyone hear me?
Ms. Parkinson, do you agree with that?
that we passed that.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, Lord.
I don't have I have my memo. I don't have it right in front of me, the agenda. So it was included in the package that I sent for preparation. It was included in the request. So I'm not sure if it was if it was written that way on the motion.
All right, I think what we're talking about is the item that we passed. 2 6-wheel cab trucks and 1 international CV 515 truck.
Mhm.
Okay, so you combined it and I didn't pick up on that
Yeah.
earlier. I
All right,
apologize.
so that was in I guess we would say
What page?
10th item on the agenda. So that was approved.
Okay,
as part of a package with two others.
I had it as an independent motion. My apologies.
No problem. All right, so back to the agenda. We are a record of expenditures, Madam Clerk. Have you made a motion on that?
Not yet.
Okay,
Excuse me, Mr.
Okay.
yes, Alderwoman Lou.
I just wanted to ask you, if the minutes are reviewed and we in fact skipped past here, wouldn't that be a problem? And would it be worthwhile doing the vote again, just so that, because to be honest, I remember Alderman O'Brien asking if we were talking about the bucket truck and,
Oh, that was on the other one.
okay, I must be. Anyways, it was just a thought. Redo the vote to make sure it's been taken.
Can I just ask a question? What was the amount for the one that you were speaking to, Mr. O'Barrow?
One moment.
I believe it was the one in the combined amount of 243,000 and some
I
odd.
have it here, the one that was with the Chase. I just want to know that we agree with the amount based on what I have here.
The motion that passed was for $243,000, $272. Does that cover all three vehicles?
That is for the three.
Okay.
Yes.
So we made and passed that motion, clearly.
Yep.
Right.
All right.
It's on page 109 of the agenda.
I'm not on the agenda, I'm on the outline.
All right, so Madam Clerk,
Yes.
the record of expenditures.
170. Yes, it works.
I motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from November 13th, 2020 to November 26th, 2020 by roll call.
Any questions or comments on the record of expenditures? Could you please call it roll, Madam Clerk?
Alderman Clay,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lowe.
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderwoman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. General discussion. Anybody have any items of general discussion? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Madam Clerk, it was page 5 of the, I believe, of the agenda.
Thank you.
Or the outline. And I'd like to thank Mr. Ibarra and the other Public Works people for being very clear about what would be happening with the old equipment before we even had to ask for it. And I really appreciate that. To take a moment to wish a very happy birthday to Alderman O'Brien,
Happy
who
birthday
has
to
said
you.
so.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Alderman O'Brien. Birthday
Thank you.
boy.
And thank you, Alderman Clee, for your birthday wishes. Another day older and deeper in debt, as the song goes. But I would really like to thank Mr. Ibarra for filling in. We lost a very good guy in Nick Casagano, and thank you for filling in and doing yeoman's job of that and presenting the equipment to the board. And it's hard to replace a good guy, you know, and but hopefully we'll do that soon. But thank you so much for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other items of general discussion? Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention that I was out today and I happened to see a couple of the trucks putting the Christmas decorations up on Main Street. And I noticed one of the vehicles was parked on a side street and it was running. And, you know, I see this a lot, and it always bothers me when people leave their cars running. I just wonder if we've considered, or if there was more sensitivity to not leaving vehicles running, if we could get more miles out of our vehicles. I- My husband was looking at the hours on one of them, the ones that were really, really low. And now I realize that those were plows, and they're bound to be, you don't get too far per hour when you're driving one of those things. But, I think if our fleet was just thoughtful to the idea of not leaving vehicles running, it'd be good for the environment, and it would also be good for our finances.
Mr. Ibarra, or is Mr.
So
Stewart still on
I
here?
could comment to that.
Yeah, go
Two
ahead.
things there. We do have a no idling policy.
Oh.
So we'll be speaking to somebody. But we have to pound those things home, get the guys on board and follow program. And to the low mileage vehicles, well, half of their life is in reverse because they're plowing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you don't register mileage when you're backing up.
Oh, good point.
And then stuff like equipment with the high hours, but low mileage. That's because they drive to the job and then they operate. So that they might only drive 3 miles to go to work, but they might be there for 8 hours with the boom in the air, working tree work or whatever they're doing. So just some points that I like to make there.
All right, well, let's enforce our no idling policy. Good point.
Oh, we'll hammer it home tomorrow.
All right. Are we on general discussion? Any other general discussion? Alderman O'Brien.
Yeah, thank you. And I really think, and I think Mr. Ibarra would agree, the idling policy, that's CFR 90 rules as far as the DOT, correct? That you can't exceed, I think, 5 minutes if my memory is correct or something like that, And it does depend upon the operator. What is 5 minutes versus 7 minutes? Nobody's going to argue that, but it does happen,
Yep.
Any other general discussion? All right, public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak to the committee? Remarks by Alderman. Any remarks by Alderman? Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I just kept my remarks today, and I think that Nick would be excited to know that these vehicles and snow plows and all the things that are accomplished tonight, especially since most of them were things that were deferred to the next year. So I don't know if any of you guys are in contact with him, but I'm sure he would be happy to know that. That's all.
Okay.
I'll be sure to send them a text.
Any other remarks by Alderman? Alderwoman Clee. Oops. Alderwoman Lou. We almost got to that. We're at the end of the auction. Go. What is it? Going once, going twice. Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. I just want to say maybe it would be irritating for him to hear that. That's all. But I'm all set.
All right, thank you. So going once, going twice. Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This time I'd like to motion to adjourn by roll call, please.
Could we please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Back on mute. Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you for the birthday wishes, yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes, and the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 8:34 p.m. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Mike, go enjoy your birthday.
Yes.